is on evolving gender relations, romance, and marriage. I've known Raymond and Brooke about a year now, almost. And in the short time I've had the privilege to spend with them, I've gained an enormous amount of insight and inspiration on this topic. So I'm very happy that they consented to coming to Kosovo to have these seminars, which will be going on this weekend, conscious courtship and mindful matrimony. So seminar for singles and seminar for couples, on the topic of really what it means to have an enduring, healthy, loving relationship, which I think we all see is a struggle of our time. Perhaps because we're no longer satisfied with just form or tradition, and we are seeking more from our relationships. But we also see that it's a universal struggle of our times. Maybe also because the role of men and women is changing and being redefined, so we are also struggling with that. And at the same time, it's something that has a very deep impact on our daily life, how our intimate relationships work, function, or don't function, and on our children, of course. So to me, it's a topic very much close to my heart. It's something that I seek to learn and understand more about. Something about Raymond and Farouk. So they're incidentally also a married couple, but they work together. Raymond is from Canada and was trained there as a psychologist. Their current work, they can say something maybe themselves about their background, but their current work involves a lot of work around couples and helping them to build that happy, loving relationship that's lasting. I think they will talk more about that themselves, so thank you for being here. Please, Raymond.
Thank you, Mike. We're very happy to be here. We've never been to Kosovo before. New, old country. And, you know, we are all connected. We're all related. We're all part of the human family. And we're all sharing this world, which is our home. And it's nice to be able to come and connect in person. Find out who our family are, how we differ. But not knowing people here until yesterday, I hadn't met you. Not knowing you personally, not knowing your social reality here, is a little bit speaking into a vacuum. Because I'm going to talk about personal, very personal relationships. And, well, how is it done here? Micah sent us a very interesting film about marriage in Kosovo, which is fascinating. And we see from that, at least, a nation that's really in transition. And in a way, we all are. Things are really changing with mating, men and women getting together. Big changes all over the world. In some places, these changes have been happening for quite a long time, but they haven't settled into anything yet. We haven't found ourselves in this area in a new way. We've moved away from traditions everywhere. To varying degrees, people are moving away from traditions, the things that for centuries basically worked. All right? We're moving away from that more or less comfortable sense of role models that our parents provided around marriage and so on and so forth into a pretty wide open field. By the way, I'm going to talk here. I'm going to look for a signal from my dear wife for after about an hour. I'll stop, no matter where I am, and we'll bring her up and move into answering questions. Because we really want to be able to field questions and have you have a chance to put forward what you're interested in. And hopefully we can answer. So there is change everywhere. A lot of it, I suppose, is driven from the West, where the ideas of freedom have taken hold, and some of the revolutions, like the sexual revolution, the women's movement were very strong. And somebody in my generation, I've lived through these revolutions. And as a psychologist, trying to make sense, well, we're all trying to make sense. Because it's opened up new doors for us. But it's confusing. Everything is new. Not being able to rely anymore on what our parents provided us with, what our grandparents provided us with. We're in new territory. We can't look to them as models or for advice. But it's exciting. One of the things which is really exciting about relationships is romance. And romance, in one psychologist's way of putting it, he says it's the major energy system for us all now. It's very powerful, it's very exciting. It's something that a study in North America says 90% of people expect to fall in love before they get married. They won't get married if they haven't fallen in love. So this is how much romance is taken hold. Our movies are about romance, our books are about romance, our magazines are about romance. It's everywhere. And we're excited about it. And this is something to come to terms with. What is it? How reliable is it in terms of forming a relationship? How does it work in a marriage, or does it work? So that's something that has revolutionized relationships. Traditionally, we've always had the potential for romance, but our traditions, our religions mostly, have kept a lid on it. It hasn't been a safe area. So traditionally, parents or elders chose partners for their children. There wasn't this process of falling in love, unless they fall in love after they get married, after they sometimes met for the first time on the wedding day. Something else, I mentioned the women's movement, which is really a movement toward equality. Equality between the sexes. And this movement, which is really taken hold, it's not finished. Nobody believes really in Western countries where this movement really has taken hold that it's finished. It's in process. But the process has really already transformed marriages. Bring in the concept of equality, that a man and a woman have equal voices, and marriage has changed. Changed and challenged. All right, what do we do with that? If we have equal voice, we have equal say, how do we talk? We've got to talk, we've got to work things through, and if one person doesn't have the authority over the other, how do you do it? How do you make decisions? It's troublesome. Couples really struggle with this, and are still really struggling with this. And divorce rates have become higher and higher as this, it almost exactly coincides with women's movement, the high divorce rates. So I was saying to some friends that we were talking with last night that in the 1950s, up to the 1950s, divorce was very rare in the West. And when it occurred, it was instigated almost always by men. By the 1960s, divorce rates had increased quite a lot, and half of them were instigated by males, half of them by females. By the 70s and 80s, the divorce rates started to move to where they are now, 30, 40, sometimes 50% divorce rate. And 80% of the divorces are being instigated by women. Scary prospect. So this process of managing or striving for equality in intimate relationships seems to be harder for men than for women somehow, and I want to talk about that a bit. And of course, I suppose more of the resistance came from men in this, because it was a women's movement. Men didn't start this movement, and not that many of us supported the movement either in the early years. Now, in the West, it's something pretty much we've got to go along with somehow. You know, it's not okay not to. So, what do we do with that? We've got these major revolutions, expectations for intense feelings of love for one another before getting married, and managing a relationship between equals. Now, I want to step back because, well, maybe I'll start with romance, because there's been a lot of research on romance, a lot of research, just in the last few decades, and it's fascinating. One famous researcher is Helen Fisher. She's a biological anthropologist, and she has taken this theme of romance on in a big way. She's done some major studies herself and refers a lot to other research. She puts couples who are in love through MRI scans to find out what's going on in their brain. What's going on? What's lighting up in our brains when we're in love? And it's not easy to do, all right? She says it's very hard to do because people who are in love are always thinking about their beloved. So how can you tell when they're,